Story 4: The Open Window by Celine. This happened in the summer of 2021 when I was renting a tiny studio apartment downtown. It wasn't glamorous old pipes, peeling paint, and windows that rattled whenever a bus rolled by, but it was mine. I worked night shifts at a local diner, so my days began when most people were heading home. Mornings were always bright and loud, but my favorite part of each day was coming home in total silence. That brief hour between 3 and 4 a.m., where the city felt empty. One night, while fumbling for my keys, I noticed my living room window open by about an inch. I could have sworn I'd closed it earlier that evening. I shut it, locked it, and brushed it off as another sign that I needed to get more sleep. A few days later, I came home from my shift and found the window open again. Only this time, the latch was broken, snapped clean off as if forced from the outside. The air inside felt still and heavy, warm in a way it shouldn't have been. I checked every corner with the flashlight on my phone, heart beating faster with every shadow I stepped past. Nothing seemed out of place, but I couldn't shake the smell. It was faint, musty, like old sweat. That night I barely slept. Every small sound, a humming fridge, rustling pipes, the ticking of the clock felt alive. Over the next week, little things started shifting. My toothpaste cap gone, my curtains slightly drawn when I was certain they'd been closed. Even my shoes were moved from one side of the mat to the other. I thought maybe someone had gotten a copy of my key. But when I brought it up to my landlord, he just said I was overthinking. The next night, I left a trick. I sprinkled a thin line of flour beneath the window before work to see if anything disturbed it while I was gone. When I came home at 3:45 a.m., the first thing I noticed was the smell again. That same stale human smell. The flour had shallow impressions through it, bare feet. I remember standing there in total silence, every nerve in my body screaming that something was still inside. Then came a noise from the closet, soft, shifting, like fabric brushing plastic hangers. I whispered to myself, "No," and backed toward the door, trying to stay calm, pretending not to notice. But the sound grew louder, a breath, then a cough. I ran, out the door, down the stairs, barefoot into the street. I called the police from my car, shaking so hard it took 3 tries to say my address. They found a man hiding inside my closet. He had broken in through the window while I was at work and had been living under my bed during the day. There was a small backpack under there, stuffed with ramen, bottled water, and a knife. I moved out 2 days later. The police said he was a drifter, someone who'd broken into apartments in the area just to have a place to stay. But I think about that night often. How many times he must have watched me sleep. How many mornings he quietly slipped back under the bed after I left. To this day, I never sleep with my back to a window. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I swear I can still hear breathing. Slow, quiet, and far too close to be my own. Story 5: Basement Visitor by Riley. It was the winter of 2015. I had just moved into an old 2-story house with my brother while we both worked to save money for school. It was big, drafty, and cheap, mostly because it came with one weird condition. The landlord asked us not to use the basement. We didn't ask questions. We just stored a few boxes on the top steps and left it alone. The air down there always smelled damp, like metal and mildew. Everything was normal for about a month. Then small things started happening. One night, as I was brushing my teeth, I heard it, a loud, echoing clang, like something metallic falling from below the floorboards. I called out to my brother, but he was already asleep upstairs. I stood over the floor vent, listening. Another clang, then silence. The next morning, I opened the basement door and peered down. The chain that normally kept it shut was unhooked. I didn't remember unhooking it. Over the next few evenings, I began hearing things regularly. Faint, dragging noises, something soft tapping against the walls, sometimes around 1 or 2 a.m. Once, I thought I saw light coming through the cracks at the bottom of the door. When I asked my brother about it, he swore he hadn't gone down there. He laughed, but I could see in his face he didn't really think it was funny. Finally, one night, he decided to check it out with me. We both grabbed flashlights, pushed open the door, and started down the steps. The smell hit first, sharp and sour like rust and sweat. We didn't even make it halfway before we heard a voice whisper something from the dark corner below. Not loud, not a shout, just a broken murmur, too soft to understand. We ran. Up those stairs faster than I knew possible, slamming the door and shoving the chain back in place. At around 4 a.m., I woke up to a sound I'll never forget. The slow creak of the basement door opening. The chain snapped. I could hear footsteps moving up the stairs, steady, deliberate, and heavy. I ran to my brother's room, shaking him awake. We locked ourselves in and called 911. The house stayed silent for another few minutes, until we heard the sound of the front door creaking open, followed by faint footsteps on the porch. Then nothing. The police showed up and swept the place. In the basement, they said they found signs of someone living down there. A pile of blankets, some empty cans, and a small camping lantern resting on a crate. Next to it was an old set of keys that didn't match any locks in the house. The back door frame had been pried open from the inside. We left the next morning and never went back. Months later, the landlord sold the property. Sometimes I still dream of those footsteps. Slow, confident, patient. Whoever was down there had been waiting. Maybe for an opportunity. Maybe for us to open that door again. There's something uniquely horrifying about realizing danger doesn't always come from ghosts, monsters, or shadows in the woods. Sometimes it comes from the sound of a footstep you can't explain, the faint breath behind a locked door, the knowledge that someone, somewhere, was inside your home, moving through your world while you slept unaware. These stories remind us that safety is fragile, that locks and walls are only illusions when someone chooses to ignore them. And maybe what's most unsettling is wondering how many times it's happened without you ever knowing. Thank you for listening to Night Encounters. If you have a true or allegedly true story of your own, an experience that still makes your skin crawl, you can send it to us at nightencountersstories@gmail.com for a chance to be featured in a future episode. Until next time, sleep lightly, because sometimes the quiet house isn't empty.